Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel again. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with some daily race B at Suzuka in the Group 4 car. So we're going to test out a few different cars in this video today, trying some different ones other than the Lexus RCF. So obviously the Lexus is very much the overpowered car that a lot of people are using for this track. But for the first race, we're going to do a race in the Corvette. Now these races were done live on stream on Monday. I did forget to record the stream, so I can't actually show you live gameplay. This is obviously from the replay, but it's still basically the same. It's just there's no delta on. But with it only being a 4-lap race, I don't really think the delta information is really that important because you're only battling with a few cars around you anyway. So we're going to start this race in the Corvette, the first car that we tried out. Now we only did about 1, maybe 2 laps practice with this car before we did the race. The qualifying time, I just jumped on with the Ferrari and did a lap. Got myself a 207.9, I think it was. Obviously there's more potential in that, as you can tell from my main account, and that wasn't even pushing the lap 100%. But we just did a 207.9 just so that I'm starting between P2 and P4 around that area, because I wanted to be able to test this car out in terms of can it keep up with these cars, in terms of can they keep up with the leaders and can they fend off cars behind. So surprisingly, the Corvette was actually a reasonably okay car at this track. Obviously if you added in tyre wear, you're going to have a different outcome because some of these cars do tend to kill the front tyres. But with this race with no tyre wear, the Corvette wasn't bad considering the limited practice we've had. You can see starting and just try and hang in on that Lexus in front of us. Now the Lexus in front of us at the time of this race I think was in the top 2 or top 3 on the top 10 stars, so clearly a very fast driver around this track in that car. And we did actually do a race in the Lexus, which we'll talk about later on in the video. But there's plenty of different cars that you can choose to race for this week's day race B, and I think it's good to add a bit of variety in there because it does tend to end up being follow the crowd. Everyone goes with one car, and it gets a little bit boring. So I wanted to just let you know there are other cars out there that you can use that are reasonably good around there. As you can see, this is our first race in this car, and we're hanging into the leader's slipstream there, and actually dropped some of the cars that are behind us. So we're pulling away from P3 and doing an okay job. I was quite surprised at the Corvette's stability and actually the cornering ability. There was some moments where it did understeer, but you've just got to be very cautious and try not to carry too much speed in. But it did surprise me how much grip it had through the really fast 130R there, managing to take reasonable speed and not even really pushing it to the outside of the track. So a little bit more speed possible on that corner, but at the moment you can see holding in and actually really strong on the final chicane. The Corvette, it was able to just plant the throttle down in 3rd gear and started to gain a bit on P1. You can see we've actually got into that slipstream, and now we're going to pick up a bit of a draft from him. But although the one thing I will say is the Lexus, since the change in physics, and I don't know if there's been some sort of buff on it that they haven't told us about, because that Lexus now is so fast down the straights. It was always a decent car down the straights, but it was never as fast as it is now. It's a rocket ship. So even though we're in the slipstream, we weren't really gaining too much time, maybe just like half a tenth down the whole straight, which shows you, we're in the Corvette, known to be a reasonably fast car. It's definitely no slouch, but it wasn't able to really gain too much time on the Lexus that's in front of us there. But going through these sectors, very nice through the twisty section on section 1, able to stay reasonably close to that Lexus. Now again, the Lexus seems to have improved in terms of its ability in the corner sections, as well as P1 has a massive moment, just about holds on and picks up a penalty. So that's going to be a nice opportunity for us to get past. So I have to really get on it now and try and get as close to his slipstream as possible. You can see they're braking extremely late, so try and just tuck into that slipstream and try and drag me all the way, just because he's only got a short penalty. I don't want him to be able to take that penalty and stay in front of me down the back straight, which is always a possibility with half-second penalty. You don't really know how much time these drivers will lose with only a short amount of penalty. As we go through the long left-hand corner, trying to get on the power nice and earlier. This is really important, this left-hand corner, is to get it very close to the apex of that curve and get on the throttle nice and early. You can see a little short shift I did there, just so that we didn't run too far wide. He's going to take the penalty. I'm going to move over to the right-hand side of the track just in case his car ungoes right near us and there's contact. And we take the lead in this race. So we're in although it's been gifted to us, that lead, we were in the position to do that. So with limited practice, the Corvette still had reasonably good speed after 2 laps to take advantage of a situation like that. Now, I'm not saying this car is going to be as fast as the Lexus, on a straight one-on-one battle without any, being in any tow and that, it's going to struggle in terms of overall pace. But what I think with practice, it's only going to be maybe, I think you'll find that it's only a few temps slower than the RCF, maybe 3-4 temps, something like that. So if you just get used to driving it, and it feels fairly solid to drive, it's not one of these cars that's going to like kick the rear out. It feels very stable, surprisingly stable. But now we're going to be tested in terms of, can this Corvette hold off the Lexus RCF for the remaining 2 laps in this race. It's going to be really interesting if we can do it. The Corvette, obviously not the strongest car, but it's definitely very stable. The corners that it seems to struggle on are the more mid to high range fast corners compared to that Lexus. The Lexus has a very strong front end, you can see right in our toe. But at the moment we're managing to keep the position in P1. We're going to have to drive defensive maybe in some areas, but he's not got close enough there, so managing to hold him off through there. And then this is where the Corvette is quite stable again, under the tunnel, really easy to get on the power, and we managed to get a nice solid exit from there and keep him at bay here. Really important to get a bit of a gap there, because you can always throw a move up the inside there. If you don't defend it well, someone can always go up the inside there and surprise you with an overtake, as we now head off into the spoon corner. And again, another overtaking opportunity for the Lexus because of its insane straight line speed. I cannot believe how fast this car has gone. We're going to have to go defensive. You see, going over to the left hand side, he tries to back out of it, brake early to trick me into maybe outbraking myself, but I'm not going to fall for that, and I stick nice and tight to that apex, getting on the power very early. And the Corvette again doing an okay job. I'm going to have to go to the left hand side. We ran a little bit wide there, maybe losing out a little bit of speed as we do that. And the Lexus is going to be able to maybe go for a move now on the right hand side. Now, is he going to try and hang it around the outside of 130R? A very risky move, and not one that always works out too well. And again, yeah, not going to work out for the Lexus. Very similar to what happened with Tidgley when he went for that move in the Group 3 FIA manufacturers race. It's not really a place you can go for it, but it is very much a case that you're probably going to end up coming off worse, because the car on the left is always going to be slowly going over to the right hand side of the track. So we now start the final lap on the Corvette, still in the lead in this race. So again, quite impressed with the Corvette, and we jump onto the end there, because if you'd have looked in the mirror, the Lexus actually made a mistake in the chicane, and we built up a lead of over a second. So we managed to hold off the Lexus all the way this lap as well. He's not really gained too much on. I think he gained a few tenths on us, and we're coming into the final chicane, and we've held the lead in the Corvette all the way to end, and actually going to take the win in this race. So now we're obviously going to think about another car. There is many cars that are not included in this video that you can also try and get that in. There's like the BMW M4, which you can try, the Ferrari, which I use for the time trial. All very good cars at this track, and there's probably more as well in there. But now we're going to try the McLaren 650S Group 4 car. Now this is quite a surprise. I don't know whether the physics update that happened recently has helped this car out, because it really feels nice. It felt nice at Goodwood as well, but it didn't have the fuel saving ability. That was its problem there. But in terms of its outright pace, it felt really solid and nice to drive. So I think that the physics update has definitely helped this McLaren out 100%. As we now start this race, you can see again, we only did, I think, about 1 or 2 laps practice, if that, with this car. So we're going into this race a little bit unknown, not really knowing what to expect from the way the car behaves through the corners. It's always nice to time trial a car to get used to how it handles, especially for race B without any tyre wear on, because it's the exact same physics and handling and everything that's going to be involved with the race as we now go through turn 1. We get a little bump from P4 there. I ran really close to the curb, but he looked like he was going even further wide, and he actually saved himself by hitting the rear of my car, and no harm done. We didn't go off, and we're still in P3, but now we're going to have to try and get close to that slipstream. You see, obviously, the McLaren is fast when it's in a slipstream, which we'll show you after. However, when you're not in a slipstream, it's not the fastest car, but I'll tell you now, it's not by any means a slow car down the straight. And to get the most out of the McLaren, you do need to short shift it. So if you pay attention to the rev bar on the bottom of the screen, you'll see that I'm shifting around about 50%, maybe even a little bit less sometimes, because its maximum power is actually slightly below the 50%, although sometimes you do find that you will rev it out a little bit longer, especially when you come into the end of a straight where you don't really want to shift up before a corner. You want to stay in the gear that you're in. But yeah, you will see some people revving this car out, and all they're going to be doing when they're revving that car out is basically losing speed down the straight. You lose acceleration, and also if you're in a proper race where you had to do fuel saving, then you're burning more fuel than you need really by doing that and losing pace. So that's a little bit of advice for you. If you're ever in this McLaren Group 4 car, do not rev it to the max. Shift it very early. You'll see there again, very nice, and it really helps out actually, because because you're shifting it early there, you get really strong exits from the corners, and you can see at the moment we're managing to hold on to the car in front, even though he's got the slipstream of that Lexus. So even though he's in a Lexus and he's slipstreaming another Lexus, we're holding on, and they go side by side through the 130R. Again, never a move that's going to work. It is a very hard move to pull off, and we managed to get right in now into the action. And what I do now is a little sneaky move to try and get on the inside. You see, go right up on the curb, try and go around the outside, but again, you're going to see now the Lexus just too much oomph down the straight. So we're going to tuck back into that slipstream, and now watch this. McLaren is very, very strong in the slipstream. One of the big reasons is because of the 7th gear. Look at that, because it's got 7th gear, we pick up that tone. Look at the speed we're getting to. We could have probably got to about 152 down by the end of that straight, but we had to back out. But we see a little opening on this first corner, take that opportunity. A little bit of rubbing is racing, but we get that move done and put ourselves up into P2 in this race. So again, the McLaren really exceeded my expectations of what it would do here. And again, I think it's got to be something to do with the physics change. The front end feels a little bit more positive than when I last tried this car out. It feels really balanced and really easy to drive. So if you're struggling with a car to pick, maybe you don't like the Lexus, I would 100% recommend this McLaren, because one, it can stay in. If you're in a slipstream, it's got insane speed down the straight. The 7th gear kicks in and the car just shoots off and gains a lot more speed, especially more speed than the Ferrari. I did other races in the Ferrari, and that Ferrari, when in the slipstream, struggled. It just couldn't get anywhere near the Lexus. However, this McLaren has got a lot more going down the straight and is able to get very close to that Lexus, and even pull moves off if you get close enough, you'll see. And as we now come out the corner, again, trying to just stay in the slipstream and actually managing to hold off the Lexus behind us as well. You can see, because we got that draft, we're holding off the Lexus that's in my slipstream. So again, it really shows you that this McLaren has got some strong straight line speed when in a slipstream. It's very similar to the NSX in Group 3. That car surprised me at, I think it was Tokyo, when we had the FIA race. When in a slipstream, that car was so strong. However, outside the slipstream, it's not the strongest down the straight. So it's very similar again to the FIA race we did the other day with the Mercedes AMG in Group 3. That car again in the slipstream really strong, but outside the slipstream not so. So some cars seem to be able to slipstream better than other cars, and this is one of them. And one of the reasons is probably because it's got that 7th gear to go in. As we now come to the end of lap 2, again, he goes a very defensive line there. I was quite surprised he went defensive when I was that far back, and that's actually given me the ability to get right up into his slipstream. And again, we're going to be a bit too far back to really go for a move into turn 1, but let's see if that slipstream kicks in as we go into 7th gear and the McLaren really kicks in with the power. You see there, look at that, you can see us gaining on the Lexus. Now that didn't happen with the Ferrari. With the Ferrari, all you could see was the Lexus pulling away even when we were that close behind him. So the 650S, clearly a very strong car and very easy to drive. As now a very close battle in this second race we're showing today out of the 3. We're right in the middle of a Lexus sandwich there in the McLaren, and I do like driving different cars to what other people are doing, because it's nice to be picking something different that people aren't using and doing really well with them. As you see again, putting the leader under pressure and not really having to go too defensive to the Lexus that is right behind me. As again, you go through that corner, lovely view on Gran Turismo at Suzuka with the replay camera there, going into these two very fast right-hand corners. And this again is one of the corners which the McLaren really excels at because it's so stable. The Lexus is good through there as well. However, the Lexus is a little bit more twitchy. You can see P1 is starting to look very twitchy with his driving. He looks like he's getting under pressure and he's making the odd little mistake. The rear is starting to become a little bit unstable. We're getting very close here now, but again, as soon as I come out of the slipstream, you'll see I haven't got the go to, the ability, the speed to get past him. So I have to tuck back into the slipstream, re-get that slipstream, and I want to try and make him a bit nervous for it. So I go to the left, make him think that I'm going to go for a move, brake very early to give myself a very tight line for his corner. You see, he brake very late trying to defend that, and he leaves the door open. We get up on the inside, nice move, a little bit of contact there, but it was fair. We had the inside line, and I put myself into the lead in this McLaren 650S as we go down the back straight now. And the driver behind me, the other Lexus, actually had a penalty which puts the old P1 back into P2, and now we've got to defend for this final lap in the McLaren 650S. As again, you can see the speed that we can carry through some of these corners is very good. I would actually like to time trial this car around here. I think it might be able to match the Ferrari. I think the Ferrari had a potential of about 207.4, 207.5, and I think this McLaren can do something very similar. It feels as strong, maybe a bit more stronger than the Ferrari because its straight line speed is a bit better. And you can see, especially when in the slipstream, that's emphasised obviously. But even without the slipstream, I think it's got a little bit more straight line go in it as we come into the braking. Trying to make sure that we hit the brake marker, and then trying to hook up this apex so we can get on the power very early. And this is the section where the McLaren should be able to actually maybe gain a little bit, or at least maintain the lead to the Lexus. As you can see, he's gaining a little bit on certain areas, but then again through the corners, the front end on this McLaren is very strong, able to bite it into the apex. And I really like the way you can shift early in this car, because that enables you to get really strong exits. Like I said before, you don't have to worry about revving it out to get the most speed out of it. A little early upshift and the car keeps pulling, and you get really good traction and exits from corners. And again, trying to make sure we hook these corners up, really important to get as much speed through that first right hand corner and get on the brakes very early for the second right hand corner, so that you don't run too far to the wall. We go through there with a purple sector on the last lap that's not got any slipstream, so although we haven't hit any amazing laps with this car yet, what it's showing at the moment is this car definitely has the potential. If it would have been clean air, I think this car would have had a lot more potential to hit maybe a 207 in the race, 207.9, 208.0, around that type of mark. But obviously when you're battling, it's a little bit harder to get the lap time in. But we've just got a few more corners now to hold the Lexuses off to the end of this race as we go through the long spoon corner and trying to make sure that we get a nice apex. But I turned in far too early there. You can see had to back off the throttle there. You'll see it on the throttle inputs. Had to lift off, then back on the throttle, and that's lost me a lot of straight line speed. So we're going to have to go defensive again going into 130R. Is he going to go for this move again for a second time? Let's see. He goes down the right hand side. Is he going to try and go around the outside of this corner? It's a very hard corner to go for. And again, same as what happened earlier, I think it was in the Corvette race possibly, you can't really get round the outside there. It just never really works. It can if you're side by side and you've got a little bit more of your car ahead of theirs going into the corner, but like that, we have the inside. We're never going to give that up, and we finish the race in the lead and take another well-deserved victory in the 650S. So really happy with how that drove there, and I think you will like driving that car. I have to say it is literally a dream to drive. It's so balanced, and the gearing really suits the track as well. So we start the last race now. This is a surprise for some people, but not a surprise for myself. The Mustang Group 4 car. Now I obviously use this in my FIA. It's my manufacturer choice, so getting used to this car takes a little bit less time. It's just a case of getting used to the corners and how to take it with the car in terms of, you know the strengths of the car, etc. And this car's always been strong at this track. However, I think since the physics change, it's now even I'd say it's a bit stronger than it used to be. Obviously, if you added tyre wear into this, it's not going to be as strong, because the front tyres will absolutely just be destroyed with the Mustang at this track with any sort of extreme tyre wear or any sort of medium tyre wear. But again, we only did, I think it was about 1 or 2 laps. I think if you go back to the live stream, you'll see we only did a few laps of warm up, and again, so surprised at this car. I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't quite know how good it was going to be and how strong it would be through some of these corners at Suzuka. And again, it's because of the gearing. The gearing seems to really help it out around here. It seems to be a case of the gearing's perfect for some of the corners, whereas, like I said, I think it was earlier in the week with regards to the stream, when we were at Kyoto, the Mustang really struggled around there. Now, it wasn't just myself that struggled, it was pretty much everyone who was driving the Mustang. The gearing just wasn't right for the track. As we now go for a move, we've seen an opportunity open, and we go for the opportunistic move down the left hand side and pull that off with a nice overtake, putting ourselves into P2 in the race already on lap 1. So a nice opportunity opened, we took it, grabbed that move and go up into P2. And now we've got to do some really fast driving, because the leader, as you can see in the Lexus, another very fast driver, I think he was up there in the top 10 at the point of when we did this race, is actually broken the slipstream to the Mustang. So now the Mustang is going to actually have to outpace that Lexus to get back into the slipstream. So this is going to be a true test of how good this car is at this track. And so far you can see it's handling really nice. Again, very safe, but the only corner that it's a little bit more tricky than some of the other cars is on the very tight hairpin. It tends to be a little bit tricky in terms of getting the power down, planting all that power to the rear tyres. You just have to be a bit smoother with your application of throttle. But other than that, it's really solid. Even coming through this last sector, down into second gear, attacking the curbs and hitting that apex, so nice, really easy to drive. And again, into early upshift into third. And again, this car has reasonable pull early down in the revs, although you do want to rev this car pretty much to the end of the rev limit is what I find. Just as you come to the end, that's where, from my experiment that I've done with this car in FIA, with like obviously time trials looking at the Ghost, it's pretty much dead on the end of the rev limiter where it gains its most speed now. But again, we're pretty much matching P1. You can see that we if anything, we might have gained a little bit of time through there. We look slightly closer to P1, so this is where I expected the Mustang might struggle a bit, but really surprisingly, again, just look how it's handling these corners at Suzuka. It's as if it's having no issues with them at all. It's just taking them as if they're not there, and it's surprising. It really is. It's taking them just as well as the Ferrari did, and that's what shocked me. And actually coming out of some of these corners, possibly a little bit higher speed than what the Ferrari did, especially when you're in the race and you can't push 100%. In time trial, obviously, you can push that a little bit more. But again, into this right corner, we actually caught the dirt on the apex and got so lucky there. We actually drifted through the corner. Now, that was not meant to happen. We were just pushing to the outside of the track just a little bit too much and got a bit lucky. But it actually worked out quite nice and gained a bit of time. You can see we're very close now to P1 and picking up that slipstream. So this is going to be a great battle. Can we actually get close enough to make a move on P1 before the end of this race? Now, obviously, in these races, you've really got to be quite aggressive with your overtakes and just go for any opportunity you get, because 4 laps is not a long time to make an overtake. And with the fact that you start pretty much a second or 8 tenths behind each other, every little opportunity you get for an overtake, you have to take in these races. So it's not like FIA, even though they're quite short races anyway, but you've got a little bit longer. You can take your time a bit more, weigh up the driver. But in these races, as soon as you see an opportunity, you have to go for that move, as we now head off to start, well, towards the end of lap 2, about to start lap 3. You can see there we're purple through there, obviously, because it's lap 2, but we're on an okay lap in it. I was actually quite surprised at how good this lap was looking, considering it was probably my 3rd lap driving. I think we only managed to get 1 practice lap in with this. Obviously, I do know how to drive the car, this is my manufacturer. However, you still do need to get used to a car at each track when even if you know the car. And we go over the line with a very nice 208.3. Now, this car 100%, I think, is possible to pretty much match, or close to as match, the Lexus round there. I think it might be a tenth or 2 down in terms of its ultimate speed, but it's definitely got I think even in time, I really wish I might, if I get time, I will time trial this here, because I think the Mustang might be able to get pretty much identical paces to the Lexus overall for a time trial lap, as we now try and work our way through the very flowing, twisty section. And again, we're not losing too much time, and actually P1 looks like he's more uncontrolled compared to myself. Everything feels very stable with the Mustang. It doesn't seem to be twitching. It feels stable, whereas that Lexus up front seems to be on the edge and really pushing aggressively to stay in the lead in this race. But we're going to keep driving it like we are at the moment. Again, keeping it nice and smooth. This again, trying to hook up the apex, and it was so nice onto the apex there. And P1 again, running aggressively wide, clearly pushing the limits and getting close to going beyond them limits. But again, the Mustang staying very sensible. But again, this is the corner you have to be, you can see, just a bit more cautious on the throttle. But the Lexus in front also made a bit of a mistake there, and has given me the ability to pick up that slipstream. So again, the advantage of the Mustang is its top speed is a little bit stronger than the other cars, so when you do get in the slipstream, you can actually have more of an opportunity to go for a move. So I have a little look down the left there, brake early though to see if we can trick this driver into the same thing that happened to the other driver in the previous race, but no, he doesn't fall for that. He keeps his line perfect, and now we're going to try and pick up a slipstream all the way down. So you can see we got a little bit of a moment on that curb there, which loses you a vital little bit of grip as you come out the corner, and you just lose a bit of strength and speed. But we're so close to the to the rear of the car in front. We're not going to go for the move there. We're going to just tuck in behind, take a nice early apex, bounce over that curb, and see if we can go for a move into the chicane. But again, we're just a bit too far back, so sensibly we tuck back into the slipstream of the car in front and just try and look for where we can go for another move as we now start the final lap of this 4-lap sprint race. Can we go for a move at any point? And now this is where you've got to be opportunistic, because this is the final lap. If we get an opportunity, if we get even a sniff of a lead, we're going to go for it. And have a little look there, but I can see that would be too risky. It's too fast at corners. There's no time for him to react if I threw it up there, and we decide to back out of that and just try and stay as close to the Lexus driver in front of us as possible as we go through the twisty section. Again, the Mustang really doing a good job through these corners. It's not struggling at all with these fast-paced corners, and again, it's because of the gearing. If you look, the 4th gear was perfect for them corners, then we can go back down to 3rd gear here, and then early upshift into 4th, and we don't need to change gear at any point through the corner. It's all perfect, quite low down in the rev, so you don't get a massive understeer or too much power. It's just really nicely geared for some of these corners, and we have a little look there, trying to just force him into an error somehow. We're trying to get all over his rear, make him like, you know, see us in the mirror if he's got the mirror on his car, whatever view he uses. But if he's looking back and seeing me going for moves, he might become a little bit unsettled. But then going into the hairpin, we brake a little bit late. We go down the left. Now, we wasn't going to turn that into an overtake, but he left the door so far wide open. I just decided to just chuck it up that inside. He saw us quite late, saw me there, backed out the corner, and then we take that lead in this race. And a very opportunistic move again, which gives me the lead in this race. So again, we've managed to get ourselves in the lead in a car that isn't really the car that everyone is using on the time trial. I think it has actually got itself towards the top end now, one person in the Mustang, because I think it actually happened after we did this race. So someone probably saw it and thought, hang on a minute, that car is very good at that track. And clearly, as you can see, it really is. It's so stable. Like I say, with one corner you've got to be a bit careful with the throttle, but with the rest of the lap, even through this really fast 130R, just watch how it grips through here. You chuck it in over the curb, carry the speed to the curb, and it doesn't lose. It doesn't even budge on the curb. It just stays planted, probably because of the weight of the car. Down through the gears, easy into the apex, and again so smooth through the last chicane as we come to the end of the race with another win and another really fun race. Some really good racing there in all three of them races. So it was a stream I really enjoyed. A nice little handbrake at the end to celebrate the victory in the Mustang. We come away with 3 solid victories. Now, we did try it with the BMW. The BMW also was a very good car here. Lacks a little bit of straight line speed compared to some of the other cars, but still a very strong car, able to get well up there, I think, and compete with the Lexus. Now, the Ferrari we already know about. I also think the Cayman may be possible to do okay with. Although, again, it's going to be a bit like the Ferrari. It's going to struggle on the top end, so that car I probably wouldn't go with. But these other cars, worth a shout. I think you will like some of them. I think in particular the 650S is really easy to drive, and I would recommend using that, especially with its 7th gear, the way it can accelerate when in a slipstream. So hope you enjoyed that video. I enjoyed doing these daily races and they were really fun. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.